We come to you from the Emerald City, Seattle, Washington, where Bank of America Arena is sold out. Stanford in town to tango with number 17 Washington. The Huskies are 15-2 in this building this year. And Stanford, the most notable absence from their starting lineup is senior forward Dan Grunfeld. He has the flu. He did not practice but did warm up and will play in this game. Harry has averaged 18 points per game. The point guard is Mitch Johnson, so Tim Morris will get the start over Dan Grunfeld. And the coach, Trent Johnson, he knows the importance. Second year as a Stanford head coach. He was the ex-Husky assistant coach and had great success at Nevada, and also an assistant coach for Mike Montgomery at Stanford. Now we'll take a look at the Washington starting lineup. They have a big man in the middle. John Brockman goes 6'7", 245. And Bobby Jones, one of the best defending forwards in the conference. Mike Jensen, good outside shooter. Roy, you know about. And Justin Dentman, a talented point guard from Carbondale, Illinois. Well, there's Lorenzo Romar, 20-5 this year. Second straight 20-win season. He is coaching in his 300th NCAA game tonight. He's been with 3 schools, Pepperdine, St. Louis, and Washington. And Marcus, what do these teams have to do to be successful?
Yeah, let's take a look at these keys to the game. Stanford tempo, but they do want to attack the pressure when they do break that first line of press of Washington. And they've got the rebound the basketball. Stanford 7-1 when they out-rebound their opponent for Washington. Matt Harris, you got to deal with him. 2-time Pac-10 Player of the Week a couple of weeks ago. Post defense, and then the outside shooting in particular of Chris Hernandez, especially with no Dan Grunfeld on the floor, but you've got to contain the perimeter.
Stanford, a very talented free shooting team at 37%, and Marcus told you about the 50% from Chris. There's Brandon Roy, Taj Finger for Stanford, getting ready to defend, and the Cardinal come in with a record of 13-10. Washington at 20-5, and Jensen taps the ball to the Cardinal. It's Tim Morris. Mitch Johnson, who went to Seattle O'Day High School last year, is the point guard for the Cardinal, and he goes inside to Matt Harris. Morris missing, and Washington, one of the top rebounding teams in the country. They're number 1 in the Pac-10, +4 on their opponents this year.
But I like the matchup of Tim Morris against Brandon Roy better than Dan Grunfeld on Brandon Roy. Morris is quicker, he's long, he's athletic, and he really focuses in on defense. Does a great job when he does.
And we just saw the 117th career block by Matt Harris. There is Hernandez outside, shooting better than 50% this year from 3 range, and misses his first.
Matt Harris is just playing great basketball this season. He's had the bad feet, the bad ankle, but right here does a great job. He is just so long and lengthy and active inside.
Mitch Johnson on the drive, misses, tried to go underneath, and a whistle and a violation. It will be Washington basketball here early. There is Dan Grunfeld, who's an important player, averages over 13 points per game, rebounding, but his leadership. He had that 31-point game against Arizona State last weekend.
And you know, he looks like he's not feeling good as Stanford goes into the 2-3 zone, but he's got his, his warm-up tops off. He's ready for action. He's ready to be thrown in there. Stanford changes their defense. Second possession, they go into a 2-3 zone. Harris manning the paint.
There's Mike Jensen. Well, he hit a big 3 against Oregon State early, and it kind of opened up the game, and they blew out the Beavers last week, 96-63 for their 4th straight win.
They replaced Jamal Williams in the starting lineup. Their chemistry, especially at the defensive end of the floor, has improved vastly, and he gives you that ability to stretch out the defense with his outside shooting.
They get it low to Taj Finger, and then they try to quickly get it to Harris. It's kicked out of bounds. It'll still be Cardinal basketball. Taj
Finger has got to recognize and respect, because there's a simple ball fake gets Taj Finger off the ball defensively and leaves Mike Jensen wide open, and you want to make him have to move and pull up for jump shots as opposed to getting his feet set.
Jensen with the steal. Well, Jensen's starting now. They're playing better, but they can also bring points off the bench in Williams and Appleby. Brockman missing the hook, and here's Morris taking it away. Cardinal a little limited because they do not have their trio of scorers in the floor. Harris, Grunfeld, and Hernandez average 45 points per game, but there's a steal by Brockman, but Johnson gets it back. Grunfeld again sideline ill.
Highly coveted freshman John Brockman out of Bahamas. We get a 5-second foul. I guess we're going to get an offensive foul against Mitch Johnson. using the body to shield the basketball, getting a little too aggressive. He's from Seattle, O'Day High School here, won a state championship. His dad, Johnny Johnson, was an old nemesis of mine when he played for the Sonics back in the late 70s. Led him to an NBA championship. Once again, zone for Stanford. Little 2-3 zone. Here's Washington have to knock down some shots outside.
Jensen gets it inside to Brandon Roy, who has the easy layup, and he is leading the conference in scoring at better than 19 points per game in conference play.
Just found the seam in the zone. Good job by Mike Jensen to deliver the basketball from the short corner. And here we see the versatility of Brandon Roy, Steve. He is defending Chris Hernandez, and we've seen a lot of that. There's that short corner pass inside, just kind of lurking silently, creeping along the baseline, Brandon Roy, and then the ability to use either hand to finish off inside. Justin Dittman is all up into Mitch Johnson. I think they learned something from the Arizona game. Stanford had a lot of turnovers in that game. Arizona had 12 steals.
Johnson scores, and it takes almost 3 minutes for the Cardinals to get on the board, but they are, and they've cut the lead to 3.
The Huskies will overextend defensively. You can't penetrate to get to the basket. They don't have a legitimate shot blocker. There's the shot blocker. He's shooting 3 pointers.
And he is high outside to start this game as 2 field goals does Mike Jensen. And Washington has taken a 6-point lead early on the Cardinals.
Shot blocker feels real comfortable about 22 feet away from the basket, shooting the ball.
Tim Morris spinning around, gets it low to finger. And that young man needs a little more strength to make that shot.
If he's going to make it through John Brockman at 6'7", 250 pounds, he needs a lot more strength.
Bobby Jones, long, Harris, good rebound. He's been leading the conference much of the year. Leon Poe taking over lately. Here's Morris on the drive and score. The kid from Atlanta, Georgia.
And again, this Stanford team, we talk about tempo, but they will take the opportunity to break. This is a team that is 2-6 when they score fewer than 70 points. So they want that game mid-70s to have a chance to win.
And talking to Jim Shaw, the assistant coach for Washington, that's the #1 thing you talked about, Marcus, that they wanted to do. They want to score in the 70s, preferably the 80s.
Yeah. And with Dan Grenfell being down with the flu, scoring 80 points for Stanford is going to be a test.
Taj Finger gets the easy basket, and quickly Stanford's come back.
Nice job, Chris Hernandez, the former point guard, as the setup man. And once again, Stanford, a little zone defense, but you better pay attention to Jensen. He's burned him a couple of times.
And Washington just throws the ball away, so the Cardinal have it. Harris was ahead of the pack. Now Hernandez hard to the hoop, and he is fouled and will go to the free throw line. There's a timeout on the floor. Mike Jensen gets hot to start the game to give Washington the early lead as they go for win number 21 on the year. It's the Huskies by 2 over Stanford. It's all good in Seattle. 8-6 Huskies over Stanford. And Saturday Pac-10 basketball takes center court once again on FSN as Arizona State takes on Arizona in a showdown between conference rivals with in-state bragging rights on the line. Our coverage begins at 4 o'clock Eastern, 1 o'clock Pacific, right here on FSN.
And I tell you, Steve, Arizona is a team that's been playing with the check engine light on the whole season. You knew something was wrong, but you just couldn't put your finger on it. But right now, with Chris Rogers back and the way they play defense, watch out for the Wildcats.
Well, there's a new leader in the Pac-10, and it's California. They beat Washington State 43-41. Leon Poe had 21 points, and Washington State had a chance to tie it at the end, but Robbie Caldwell could not get it to drop. And Stanford, on a 6-0 run, has tied this game at 8.
I love the intensity and the efficiency that Stanford is playing with at both ends of the floor. Washington a little discombobulated.
Brian Appleby now in the game with Jamal Williams.
Got a lot of offense, just a major offensive infusion with those 2 substitutions right there.
Johnson and Hernandez out top of the zone, and Johnson with those quick hands knocks it away, and Chris brings it down the floor.
That's the second time Mike Jensen has mishandled the basketball. You might want to let someone else be the setup guy, be responsible for making those passes on the interior. Let Jensen just get his feet set and shoot jumpers.
Hernandez misses his second three attempt. Lawrence Hill coming off the bench for the Cardinal. Again, we've seen nothing from Dan Grunfeld, who is under the weather on the sideline, but we were told he would play. Down low, Harris. He's doubled as soon as he catches that ball and almost throws it away. And Hill with a fine save.
Nice. That's a good play. Right before that ball was tied up, they doubled him right away that time. You had to leave off of him if you're Mike Jensen to help out. And Ryan Appleby did a nice job sagging back to tie it up, give Washington the possession.
Watch Stanford's zone defense. Whenever Appleby touches it, they will stretch the defense because this guy can really rip the threes. He had 5 out of 6 from three-point range in their last game. And he misses his first three attempt, and Lawrence Hill with the rebound.
And what that does, it gives Brandon Roy a chance to kind of slink along the baseline like we saw earlier in this game because of Appleby's ability to knock down that long ball, and Jensen out there on the floor, and Burmeister.
Tim Morris. His three spins out, and it is knocked out of bounds by Harris. So Washington basketball at the 13:42 mark of this first half.
Bill Johnson says the zone has been very, very good to me. He's staying with this 2-3 zone. It's been really effective until Washington starts knocking down those shots.
Mike Jensen is the 6'8" senior.
He's the one guy. He's the only guy so far that's really hurt the zone. So I mean, you've got to be aware of that if you're playing the wing on the side of Mike Jensen.
Jensen has 9 points and 3 of 3 from three-point range. Roy defending Chris Hernandez. He's doubled, so Mitch Johnson takes the three and misses. Right now, the Cardinal having a tough time from the distance, and they are 0 for 4 and one of the top 3 shooting teams in the conference. Mitch Johnson on Ryan Appleby. This is a great matchup here. Jamal Williams, great low post offensive player. It was too easy for him over Lawrence Hill.
Yeah, just out-muscled Lawrence Hill inside. Lawrence Hill's got to play tougher, run, or get immediate help defensively when Jamal gets it down in the post.
A steal by Washington. Appleby ahead to Williams, but he did not continue his run. He kind of slowed up, and the ball was leading him almost like a quarterback leading a receiver. But Williams slowed up at the end. The ball goes out of bounds.
There's a good line. That's the second time Mike Jensen has used the ball fake to get the defender off of him, and then watch the right shoulder, dig it into the chest, create some space, and then it makes it an easy 3-footer up and over Lawrence Hill. Lawrence Hill had 6 blocks against Arizona their last time out to set a school record, but he didn't have anybody burrowing into his chest like Jamal Williams has done tonight.
Well, Jensen, you see what his numbers have been. His outside threat is more dangerous than his inside game, even though he's played that center position in the past for the Huskies.
Yeah, I can't recall him making just a great interior post-up move in the 4 years he's been playing.
Finger is pinned by John Brockman, but they say Brockman got a piece of the arm and commits his first personal foul.
Good penetration and dish inside by Tim Morris. Looked like a pretty good block on the part of Brockman. Let's see if there's any contact down low. I mean, if there was, it was negligible.
And I beg your pardon, Marcus, that was his second personal foul. So Lorenzo Romar complaining to the officials because he may have to get the freshman out of the game. Our officials are David Hall, who's the lead official, then Bob Staffen and Kevin Brill. There's Lorenzo Romar. He's done such a great job with last Saturday's 20th win. The Huskies posted their 23rd 20-win season in school history.
And just created an atmosphere, an ambience up here in Seattle where kids want to come and play for him. He's got a great recruit coming in next year.
And terrific fan support. And this is a great college basketball atmosphere.
Stanford back into their man-to-man defense, changing things up. Washington a lot more comfortable attacking the man-to-man.
Williams trying to get the feed down low to Brockman, who was cutting, but threw it away. And then Williams steps in the sideline as he tries to reclaim it. But it will be Stanford basketball with 11:40 remaining in the first half. The Huskies with a 3-point lead. And we've got a timeout on the floor. Okay. Every seat is taken at Bank of America Arena here in Seattle, Washington. Pac-10 matchup with Stanford and Washington. Steve Physiak, Marcus Johnson. The Huskies have taken the early lead, 13-10, because of their senior center going deep, Mike Jensen.
He's showing his ability to stretch out the defense, Mike Jensen, against the zone. And he's the main reason why Stanford got out of that zone. And you see just a simple ball fake. The defender already heading toward the corner, the direction that the ball fake is made, and then it leaves Jensen wide open. So he's done a nice job starting out the fifth-year senior out of Kent, Washington, Mike Jensen.
And you see his career high 17 against the Cardinal a couple of years ago. He's a local kid out of Kentwood High School. Suffered so many injuries here and coming off a shoulder injury that limited early this season.
Now Washington has got to really focus on rebounding the ball. They're awful small inside. They're awful quick.
And here's Williams down the middle of the floor looking for Appleby. And then Williams, determined to get the ball to his three-shooter, took an extra step and turns it over.
Now in that possession, Jamal Williams, he was uncomfortable with the basketball from the time he started dribbling down the floor. So he needs to go into a jump stop, get the ball to somebody whose responsibility it is to advance the basketball. That is not part of his game, not part of the package.
Jason Haas is now in the game for Stanford, running the point with Hernandez still at the 2. Morris almost throws it away, and now does, as he stepped on the end line, and the Cardinal turn it over.
This defense of Washington is so quick and it's so active.
Look at the turnovers, 5 for each team, and these are two very efficient teams. Washington does a great job forcing turnovers, second to Arizona. And that was the #1 concern by the Stanford coaches, because they said, we've got to take care of the basketball. Arizona had 12 steals in last week's loss to the Wildcats at Maples Pavilion.
This is an interesting gamble by Lorenzo Romar. I mean, he is going awful small. Bobby Jones playing center, defending Matt Harriet. You know he's going to get some double team help. You got Peter Prout, another big 6'10" kid defended by Jamal Williams, about 6'6".
Right now they're doing an excellent defensive job on Harriet.
We're seeing, quickness and going against size, and quickness winning out.
Yep. And this time size wins out.
Until then. But that's what the Stanford's got to do. Keep pounding it inside. Look to get your stuff off early. Don't let the double team materialize, and then pound the offensive glass if you're Stanford.
And Stanford doing a pretty good job in their half-court offense. Right now Washington's defense is not disrupting them. Crowd on Williams. Will Smith in the game. Here's Williams turning on the sophomore Prout. Comes back to the right side. I'm telling you what, for 6'5", he is a load.
And that's his job. He says that Lorenzo Romar refers to him as a designated hitter. He just comes in the game looking to score.
Well, that'll work. Great pass from Hernandez. The slam by Morris, and Stanford within 1.
Tim Morris and Lorenzo Romar are second cousins. Tim Morris's grandfather and Lorenzo Romar's mother are brother and sister.
I did not know that.
There's no way to treat your cousin right there. So Lorenzo Romar used to play one-on-one when he was in middle school, high school, and Lorenzo stopped playing him when he got to the 11th grade because Lorenzo didn't want him to beat him.
This time Williams does miss. Harry's going to bring it down the floor himself, and he's looking for Jason Haas, who finally accepts it. They're trying to trap him in the corner.
That's a smart play with the quick unit on the floor.
Morris up, charging foul. It'll go Washington's way.
I love Morris's activity and his athleticism, but he does have a tendency at times to get a little out of control in situations like that when he's taking the ball strong to the basket. And, you don't want to say not do it, because that's a big part of his game, but just got to play a little bit more under control, pull up for a little short jump shot, and understand that the offensive foul opportunity is going to be taken by the defender every single time.
First foul on Tim Morris. This is a huge game for Stanford. These final 4 games are absolutely big for the Cardinal. They're trying to finish with 17 wins and win the Pac-10, and they're in the NCAA tournament.
Got to post up Brandon Roy now. He's got Jared Haas on him, and he can take him down in the post and then have his way with it. Just jump up and over.
Good defense by Haas that time. But the result is he sunk the defense in, flips it out to Joel Smith, who drains the 3.
That's the price you pay for putting a smaller defender on Brandon Roy, who does a great job distributing the basketball.
Washington is coming off a game where they hit a season-high 12 three-pointers in 24 attempts and blew out Oregon State, and they've opened this game 4 for 6. in the first 12 minutes of the contest, and Washington turns it over, and Williams is hot.
But I like Jamal Williams getting fired up about defense. You see his foot is just, you know, obviously on the line, but you like him getting fired up about playing some defense. It's usually he'd be complaining about when he got fouled on a jump hook, but that time he's trying to make something happen at the defensive end.
And that's a great call by David Hall, because even though it did go off the knee of Harris, he spotted the sneaker on that sideline as he was trying to save it in. Brandon Roy will defend Chris Hernandez. They double him. They find Jason Haas. He'll take the three, and it's long. And Roy is there for the rebound. Just Brandon Roy coming off a game where he had 25 points, 8 rebounds, and 9 assists. And now Smith going deep, and they've made 5 of their 7 3-point attempts in this game.
It's contagious out here. Mike Jensen got it started off. I thought that Stanford's perimeter shooting, if Dan Grenfell would have played, would have been the problem. But it's been Washington's perimeter shooting so far here early.
And those quick hands lead to points. And here's Jensen with his 4th 3 of the first half. And Washington has opened up a 10-point lead.
Brandon Roy going to draw the defender to Morris. Nobody closes out. Morris closes out, but too late on Joel Smith. Joel Smith used to have the big afro, but decided to scale it down a little bit, become more aerodynamically sound, and it's paying dividends on the jump shot. And you know, this is his 4th 3-point shot. When are you going to make it, put it on the floor?
Well, it's pretty tough to beat a team that shoots 75% from 3-point range, but that's what the Huskies are doing early in this game. They made 6 of their 8 3 attempts. And yes, welcome to Romarville. Lorenzo has only one here. He's coming off a season where they won 29 games, but you might remember at the very end of the year, Stanford beat Washington 77-67, spoiling the Huskies in Romar's bid for the Pac-10 regular season championship,
which was won by Channing Frye and Salim Stoudemire in Arizona. But now Trent Johnson's got to generate some offense. You know, Matt Harris, you got to go down to Matt Harris. He hadn't had enough touches, even though he's going to get double teamed. It might open up some other things on the outside.
Johnson getting it back to Harris, and he will miss the shot, grab the rebound, and get fouled. But boy, I tell you, the activity in the paint by Washington's defense is remarkable, because I really thought very good passing by the Cardinal on that possession.
Yeah, and that's been the key to them being on a 4-game winning streak. It's been about defense.
Meantime, Mike Jensen playing the game of the year for Mike. 4 of 4 from 3-point range. Stanford scoring inside, Washington going outside. They have a 10-point lead. Hey, on Sunday, Pac-10 basketball is right here at Heck Edmondson and Bank of America Arena, as California is in town, the #1 team in the conference right now, a half-game edge after they beat Washington State, and they will be in Seattle to take on the #17 Huskies. And the teams trying to knock down that NCAA tournament door. UCLA and Arizona have the best RPIs, Marcus.
Yeah, I mean, I really believe Arizona, despite the struggles they've had this year, you look at that RPI, you look at Lute Olson, their history, they got to be in.
And they played so well at Maples Pavilion last week. If they can defend for 40 minutes, they can beat just about anybody.
And that's how they defended against Stanford at Maples. I mean, it was just a joy to behold. They had 12 steals in the game. Chris Rogers really just focused and honed in on defense. Mustafa had a good game. Hassan Adams broke out of his slump with 23 points. Ivan Radinovich had 23 points. I'm telling you, Steve, they're back. The check engine light is off.
You know that with Radinovich heating up.
Yeah.
He's been a major force because he can go outside. He's a good passer from the wing as well. We will see them this weekend. You and I get to go do the Arizona State game.
Yep.
Ash Finger comes out a little deeper on Mike Jensen after he's hit his first 4 3-pointers. Jensen taking another. This time he misses his first miss.
Kind of a heat check for Mike Jensen. So now, you know, you're on a little roll, Mike Jensen, but now it's time to kind of go back to your bread and butter. Brandon Roy just 2 field goal attempts so far in this game for Stanford. Hernandez, nice job fading on the screen by Harris. That's beautiful basketball.
And Finger with the left-hand roll. All of their points have come in the paint, 12, and 6 field goals and 4 free throws. Detman with the pull-up misses, and Tim Morris grabs the rebound. This might be a run that Stanford needs to stay in this.
Got to get under control.
Morris was not. Brockman rebounds.
You have Tim Morris back on to Brandon Roy. You have Jason Haas defending Roy for a couple of possessions. Chris Hernandez. Now you got somebody more his side, so that should alleviate the post-ups.
Brandon Roy.
But you got to fight through the screens. They set a staggered double screen on the perimeter for Brandon Roy to allow him to get the wide open look from the three-point line, and that is the versatility of Brandon Roy. Go inside, go outside, go wherever.
The Huskies 7 of 10 from three-point range in the first half. They hit 12 three-pointers in their last game. Harris doubled. He still takes it up in traffic and misses the shot. They have shut out one of the top scorers in the Pac-10 Conference, who came in with an 18-point per game average.
Just making him have to play and shoot in a crowd. The crowd of bodies, arms up, challenging shots.
Brockman, man, he's tough.
Had a huge rebound and putback against Oregon. On a Malik Harrison block of Brandon Roy shot inside. He is really getting more comfortable, and he's a freshman, so, and he's like the 4th option on this team, and a lot of times offensively.
Harris, that's his first field goal of the game. He's now 1 for 3, but he hasn't even had too many touches on that low post.
Yeah, they got to keep pounding it inside. It's going to be a tough night for Mike Jensen defensively.
Harris comes up, and he'll take it all the way and lay it in. Well, he just glided it by Detman and Brockman.
Mike Jensen gave him Matt Harris the ultimate compliment. You know, I asked him how does he compare to some of the other guys he's defended, like Diago. He said, yeah, he's just as good. He's just still in college. You know, those guys left early to be professionals. He's a great offensive player who decided to stick around.
And he's one of those guys from a little town, Page, Arizona, who's gotten better every single year.
Better, bigger, stronger, and right here shows the ability to lead the break in transition. Here's Harris going to push it down, and does a nice job, just kind of beads in on the basket, blocks out everything else.
Second foul on Tim Morris, and Harris will take a seat now. You see his numbers this year: 3rd in scoring, 2nd in rebounding.
Dan Grunfeld with the flu, trying to defend you know, one of the most active players in the class.
Oh, they got to get out on Jensen. Go ahead and let him post up, but don't let him get open outside.
Mike Jensen. And he was wearing the black kind of shoulder harness because he did have an injury coming into the season, but he's had that off a couple of weeks, and that shot is falling.
Well, he's 5 for 6. And that is Stanford's 8th turnover early in this game. Mike Jensen having the time of his life. This might be the best game of his career. 15 in the first half. And Washington is up by 10 over Stanford. Washington with a 10-point lead. They came out hot from outside.
It's been a Tre Punte fest. That's 3-pointer in Italian for those of you who don't know that. Here's Joel Smith in transition from Brandon Roy. And Brandon's 3 assists. And then Brandon Roy off of a little staggered screen. And then this is the guy, Mike Jensen, feet set, spotting up. Right here, a little pop action. Brandon Roy draws the defense in, kicks it out to Mike Jensen, who is obviously feeling it tonight from long range.
What's Italian for yaka? There we go. His career high is just 2 away. He did that against Stanford a couple of years ago at 17, but the 5 3-pointers is a career best for Mike Jensen.
This is where they want it. Jamal Williams' hand down in the low box. Good defense by Prowett, though.
And he throws it back up, so 2 misses on 1 possession for Williams. Outlet to Hernandez, and a bad pass by Peter Prowett. And that is the 9th turnover by the Cardinal, and they cannot afford to let that happen.
It's got to be just tearing Coach Trent Johnson up inside, who played his high school ball here in Seattle at Franklin High School. Trent Johnson did. So it's kind of a homecoming of sorts for him also. Not kind of, but a homecoming. Yeah, you got to take care of the ball, man.
Stanford has their senior who's been battling the flu today, Dan Grunfeld, on the floor, seeing his first action. He's defending Brandon Roy. He's hoping that Roy can catch his illness and not play the second half.
Breathing on it.
Yeah.
That's a tough matchup.
Wow, it sure was, and Roy just works him over.
Mr. Smoothie, Brandon Roy, Dan Grunfeld already not feeling well. He's coming off a major reconstructive right knee surgery, even though he's gone to a lighter brace the last couple of weeks. But that combination, bad leg, not feeling good. Brandon Roy, not good.
Hernandez needs to find an opening. He has not scored in this game.
And that's Brandon Roy's defense. Brandon Roy guards everybody. Jordan Farmar, Hassan Adams, it doesn't matter. And Brandon Roy does a great job of spinning off a contact. Right there, starts in middle, spins off a contact. Danny loses his balance. Actually steps on the foot of Taj's finger and gets tripped, and just makes it an even easier shot for Brandon Roy. If Dan Grunfeld's going to defend Brandon Roy, he's going to need a lot of help. So he just gets it. You got to just kind of collapse and get the ball out of his hands.
Well, they may have been able to do it by switching to a zone defense, but they are hitting 8 of 11 from three-point range, so that's completely eliminated the possibility for a zone. But Trent Johnson a lot of times likes to switch to a zone to throw a team off the rhythm, but Washington has hit a terrific rhythm early in this game for a 12-point lead.
Yeah, I mean, he tried that, Trent Johnson did, but talk about a rhythm. Washington went into their James Brown mode. They had super rhythm. Ow! I feel good. Yaka, 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 yaka.
It was. You could toss about 5 more yakas in there and you'd be accurate.
They had a terrific rhythm. But now with Mitch Johnson on the floor, I think Trent Johnson is hoping that he can settle things down. He's going to be the primary ball handler, not looking to score, as you can see by the numbers. But just cut down on the turnovers, give you some shots at the basket.
Just stay close in this game because obviously Washington is coming out sizzling.
Yeah, if they're going to shoot that way all night long, you're going to lose. And so that's how you got to look at it. You got to keep plugging, keep battling, tighten up the D as much as possible. Nice pass.
What a feed by Brandon Roy. This guy is a pro. He's a guy who's going to play at the next level like 10, 12 years.
Yeah, and because he does things, he rarely breaks a sweat. Just rarely breaks a sweat out there. So sometimes you think he's not going that hard, but he's just such an efficient basketball player.
Washington defending so well. The Cardinals have not had one easy look.
And that was one of the keys for Washington. One and done. Let them limit them to one shot on the backboard.
Bobby Jones counts a basket.
Speaking of pro, I think Bobby Jones has a shot also playing on the next level. I mean, he's been playing power forward most of his career. He's undersized to do that in the NBA. But he just does so many things well. He's a tenacious defender. He gives you whatever you need to help you win basketball games. And right there, great job taking it strong and showing off the athleticism.
And those are the numbers, and you go, well, how can a guy like that go on to the next level? But you and I have talked with NBA scouts, and they say, you know what, he's unusually strong because he doesn't look like he's that big and that strong. But now he can shoot it, he can defend like a 1, 2, 3, 4. 9-2 run by Washington over the last 2 minutes and 30 seconds.
And there's a place for high energy guys, and it's not like he's just this Dennis Rodman bricklayer from the outside. He can knock down the open three-pointer.
Roy and Jones starting to take over, and this time Roy throws it away. It's hit back to him. Here's Detman feeding Jensen. Long. Roy trying to tip it up, but misses. And Washington with their biggest lead of the game, 39-24. Lawrence Hill, yes.
That's Mitch Johnson running a fast break in transition, trying to generate some easy points. Throws the bullet inside to Hill.
Stanford having to stay in that man-to-man defense, and they have been cut apart by the much more athletic Huskies. Bobby Jones misses the 3. Mitch Johnson has a 3-on-2 break. He's got Hernandez left, and for Chris Hernandez, he'll miss his 3rd shot of the game.
Yeah, he's struggling in a major way, but I love what Mitch Johnson did. He kind of flared off to his right to make it an open lane for Chris Hernandez.
Well, let's check out what's coming up on the Acura halftime show, where Pac-10 Hall of Honor takes a look at a great Stanford Cardinal, Adam Keefe, one of the top scorers of all time, and Other action around the Pac-10, including that Cal-Washington State game, will have highlights and first half recap. Well, Brandon Roy, this is a guy who played pretty well the last couple of weeks. He's been averaging 23 points per game the last 3 weeks of the season, but back-to-back Player of the Week awards by Mr. Roy from Seattle, Washington. He is our U.S. Bank Player of the Week.
23 points, 6 assists, 7 or 8 rebounds. Brandon Roy back-to-back, and before that it was Chris Hernandez's Player of the Week. Before that it was Matt Harris back-to-back. So we've got the past 5 U.S. Bank Players of the Week right here on the floor. There's the completeness of Brandon Roy.
Gets it down low to Jamal Williams. Quick move, but too quick as he travels. And it's a turnover by Washington, so Stanford has a chance to get within 11, maybe 10 points. And that would be big, as hot as Washington has played in the first half.
You can't talk about it enough. The defensive job Brandon Roy has done on Chris Hernandez. He's long, he's 6'6". He's got extremely quick feet defensively.
Harris comes out for the high screen, then rolls to the basket. Williams covers him, and here's Harris up, missing, but Hill is there to knock it down, and that's the first half. Stanford with excellent execution to end the half, but it is Washington at home with an 11-point lead. Halftime in Seattle with the score. The Huskies 39, the Cardinal 28. Stick around for the Acura halftime show after this short timeout. Washington has been brilliant outside with a 39-28 lead over Stanford, and they want their fans to stand up. Every seat taken here at Bank of America Arena, but right now the big three for the Cardinal that have been averaging 45 points per game have only scored 8 points in the first half. They are 2 for 11. Grunfeld, we told you about Hill. He had the flu, didn't practice today. He did warm up, but Chris Hernandez has not made a field goal. Matt Harris has only made 2.
And Chris Hernandez is sick also, sick of Brandon Roy.
Yeah.
Sick of Brandon Roy.
Blocks it from behind, and it's a clean block.
Sick of Brandon Roy just hounding him and using his reach and his athleticism to kind of keep him at bay.
Well, the fans in the middle of the floor, the students were holding a sign that said Hernandez on one side, and then they turned it around and said, "We're in your head." No, Brandon Roy might be in his head, but he has a great self-discipline to block out the fans.
So I mean, so what do you do to free up Chris Hernandez? You got to run him off of screens, double screens. You're the big. Oh wow, bad pass, Mitch Johnson. Now the 10th turnover. Stanford averages just 13 a game. They've got 10 already.
Washington. Well, there's Harris with a clean block, and that's Bill Russell's style where he keeps it in play. Hernandez looking for a screen from Finger.
They've got to find a way to work it around to Matt Harris. He's got Brandon Roy on him.
They swing it left and almost turned over. They've had 3 possessions and almost 3 turnovers.
Yeah, bad passing decisions, but talk about some defense. There's Brandon Roy from behind. Chris Hernandez thought he had him beat. Kind of the Venus flytrap theory defensively. Then Matt Harris shows that length and quick off his feet. The quick ups.
And again, Stanford has not made a 3 in this contest. Coming out of it, Mitch Johnson.
And it's one of those, if you're Tim Morris, I'm open, coach. Well, there's a reason why you're open.
He's open again. This time he'll drive and miss the shot. Tipped in, though, by Tim Morris.
Yeah, and that's more what he needs to do under control, avoiding the offensive foul. They'll keep attacking, going to the basket, not settling for the outside shot.
Stanford stays in the man defense with Johnson, Finger, Hernandez, Harris, and Morris on the floor. Washington with Dentman at the point. Jensen, Roy, Brockman, and Jones. Harris with another rebound, and Stanford right now within 9. They're a team that does a great job of staying in games, keeping it close.
Again, they got to keep feeding the post, wait for the Huskies to double team inside, and then you may get some open looks for Hernandez.
And they double and triple Harris every time he touches it. They get it to Mitch Johnson, who throws it away. One pass too many, and a foul is called on Mitch Johnson.
And Mitch Johnson coming back home. This is where he's from. And he told me he went by his mom's house, had a home-cooked meal for the first time since Thanksgiving, a little pasta, a little salad, and a bunch of friends calling to the point where he had to turn his cell phone off. There's his dad kind of watching from courtside, John Johnson. So you know he's feeling the pressure, and he's playing like he's feeling the pressure. So a good job by Trent Johnson to get him out of there, put in Jason Hollis.
You used to enjoy Johnny Johnson's defense, right?
No, not at all, man. He used to bug me more than anybody. And he's a Johnson, too. That's the whole thing. We related some kind of way.
You know what? It's all good.
Not for Mitch. He's got to shake it off. Oh.
Mike Jensen with a career-high 18-point effort.
I see you, MJ. Career high with a lot of time left to be played, and every single point, ladies and gentlemen, from the three-point line. 6 3-pointers for Mike Jensen. That's really too much dribble. Too much dribble for Tim Morris. But, you can't really fault him because nothing else is going on for Stanford offensively.
Hernandez with the pull-up, misses. May have forced that one, and here comes Washington the other way. Detman fumbles with the basketball and still has time to run it down. Hernandez tries to pick and clean. It's out of bounds. It still will be Husky basketball.
Our old broadcast partner here up in Seattle, Kevin Calabro with the Seattle Sonics, used to say, "En fuego!" On fire, Mike Jensen. I mean, and again, just a spot up, get my feet set, have all day to shoot a kind of jump shot for him, and that's what he can knock down.
I'll tell you what, Trent Johnson may call the fire department. They got to cool him off.
Put a hand in his face.
Now high-low action, and Brockman is fouled by Chris Hernandez.
And Mike Jensen, since he has been inserted into the starting lineup, that's when the Huskies started to really make their move. And this is the kind of stuff that he does. I mean, the big guy that can stretch you out with the long ball, but also does a nice job feeding inside to the freshman Brockman. He plays great post defense. We saw him last year just battling Ike Diagu right here on this floor. Now you relegate Jamal Williams as your designated shooter coming off the bench. You always got to worry about his scoring points. You don't have to burden him too much with defensive responsibilities.
Brockman makes 1 of 2. It's a 13-point lead again for the Washington Huskies. Down low they go to Peter Prowett. Well, they're doubling that post every time, and there they get it in again. This time Prowett beats the double team as Brockman swept across from the weak side.
And they're going to make a steady diet of that, Peter Prowett, but if they continue to play him like they played him that last possession, you got to get points for Stanford any way you can get them. It's not happening for Chris Hernandez. Matt Harris is attracting a lot of attention.
Brockman missing. Prowett rebounds ahead to Jason Haas. Haas misses the pull-up, and there's Brockman again, where he's throwing people aside, including his teammate Bobby Jones. Roy just weaving his way down that left side, getting the team in the half court. Oh, what a shot by Roy.
Brandon Roy, 6'6", 220 pounds, just showed how strong he is. On that going left off the bounce take against Peter Prowett, another strong big guy inside.
Tell you what, on Sunday when they meet California, we may have the 2 leading candidates for Player of the Year in the Pac-10. You can watch it on FSN with Leon Poe, who scored 21 in a 43-41 victory over Washington State tonight, and Brandon Roy, who has been sensational, particularly second half of the season, lifting the Huskies back and trying to send them to their 5th straight win. Tough, strong, determined. Lottery. 15:08 to play. Washington by 13 over Stanford. It's time now for our Pontiac game-changing performance. Mike Jensen, a career-high 18 points. He has hit 6 3-pointers in 8 attempts.
Yeah,
and
Mike.
Rigo.
Yeah, I mean, he's hot, and you see not one time on those three-pointers. Well, there's Tosh Finger. Finally, somebody gets a hand in his face, but that's on the 6th three-pointer. He's already hot. It's too late.
And for being selected as the Pontiac Pac-10 Changing Performance, Pontiac will donate $1,000 to the General Scholarship Fund of Washington. Jensen getting a seat, and the rest, career high in points, is breaking his old record of 17, which he hit against the Cardinal January of last year.
And so now you would say, well, if you're Stanford, okay, Mike Jensen's out of the game before we get a rest. Well, no, Jamal Williams, it gives you a different type of scoring. Most of his coming within 5 to 8 feet from the basket, but it's just as difficult of a matchup nonetheless.
Matt Harris tied up, and he's been so terrific this year, averaging 18 points per game. Just missed his first foul shot. He is a 77% foul shooter.
And you saw the 6 points of Matt Harris as he misses the free throw there. But with no Dan Grunfeld, that third scoring option on the perimeter to take some of the pressure off the inside to stretch out the defense really has affected how Washington is able to play Matt Harris.
Boy, what a power play. My goodness.
So gets a pretty good defensive player. Brandon Roy showing when he's knocked down a three, hit a medium-range jump shot. Now he's doing his work down in the post. Now he's going to defend Chris Hernandez, the best offensive player on the perimeter for Stanford.
Chris Hernandez hits his first field goal, missed his first 6 shots of this game, finally nails one, and Stanford within 13 again.
And, you know, Chris Hernandez against Arizona, they were down double digits. He went on a barrage from the outside, 7 of 11 from the three-point line in that game to bring his team back into it against the Wildcats. So he's streaky. He can get on one.
He may need one. Well, this one's partially blocked. I'm not sure which Cardinal came up with it, but it's Stanford basketball, and they're calling a foul on Jamal Williams. That will be Williams' first personal foul. Stanford suffered a really tough loss at home to Arizona last week, 76-72. Now they have gone 3-6 on the road, and here you're seeing full court pressure from Washington's defense.
Stanford played Gonzaga tough in Spokane. I think they led the 34-35 minutes of that game. They just have not been able to close the deal.
And then Adam Morrison came out of the phone booth and became Superman in the end.
Yep. Another 34-point game for Adam Morrison.
Hernandez missing 3. And it's out of bounds to the Huskies. With 13:51, this game has been controlled by Washington. First with their outside shooting, and now with their tough defense.
And that's been the knock on the Huskies. People always say, well, the Washington, they love to run up and down and just take the first good look, but they don't play good defense. This game has been all about defense for the Washington Huskies. They've been active. They've shut off for Harris inside, Hernandez on the outside.
Jamal Williams goes down low. And assistant coach Jim Shaw told me that he felt the second half against Oregon State may have been the best defense they played this year. They had a wonderful 40 minutes of defense against UCLA, but they didn't rebound as well in that game.
When you get these kinds of athletes to buy into playing the type of defense Lorenzo Romo wants them to play, they're tough to beat.
Peter Prout gets fouled inside. He will be at the free throw line for 2 shots.
Jamal Williams, I mean, this is his office down on the box. This time left box, a little face-up move, square up, one dribble, little slight push-off, a little space creator with that right hand. But then he's got that quick release, almost shot, puts it up before you can jump as a bigger defender. He's accepted his role. I talked to him before the game. He's like, you know, I'm coming in, I'm a designated hitter. Coach says go in there and think about scoring. He's like, hey, that's right up my alley. And he's been working. He's gotten more minutes off the bench, and his scoring has increased slightly since he's been coming off the bench. So
it just seems like the team has greater depth, because all of a sudden Lorenzo Romar's looking to the bench when he needs help. He has an inside scorer in Williams. He has an outside scorer in Appleby.
Yep.
And Appleby's now in the game with Williams.
And it solidifies your post defense with Mike Jensen as the starter, matching up against a Matt Harris to start the game, and it takes some of the pressure off the freshman John Brockman.
Marcus, do you think also with Roy out of the game, Williams and Roy are almost in the same territory, so maybe they kind of don't help each other?
Yeah, and Brandon a little more versatile. I mean, he can step outside and knock down the outside shot, but you're right. I mean, they're both guys that love to do a lot of damage posting up. Here's Jamal Williams, little jab, spin off a contact there, draws the foul. And again, he's just thinking offensive, and so that in itself is emancipating for a guy like Jamal Williams. You don't have to get all bogged up into rotations and switches and talking. Just give me the ball, get out the way. Give me the ball, get out the way.
He's kind of like a Adrian Dantley type.
Yeah, he is.
Low. Even though he's undersized, he somehow gives himself space.
In that mold, Adrian Dantley, Mark Aguirre.
Jason Haas now running the point. This is not a great offensive team they have on the floor. They only have 2 scorers in Harris and Hernandez. Nice charging foul is called on Jason Haas.
And that's Jamal Williams taking the hit, drawing the contact.
And Grunfeld, we told you, has had the flu, wishing he could play. He played maybe 2 minutes of the first half and then came out.
See, we told you he was sick. You just saw that.
Great kid.
Didn't look good on that one, though. He was coughing and just kind of trying to stay into it, but got to be awful hard.
But he is what Stanford is all about. Both Hernandez and Grunfeld are on the all-academic team this year. Joel Smith now on Hernandez. And a whistle and a foul as Hernandez was driving to the right. And they will call it on Joel Smith.
I think, again, just a great job kind of keying in transition.
Stanford earlier this year, Marcus, they put themselves in a tough position. Losing those 3 games you talked about in the Open to Irvine, Montana, Davis. If they have those back, that's 16 wins. And they aren't in the position they are in now. I mean, they've only lost 3 of their last 9 games. But Marcus, those losses are by 3 points. Then all of a sudden, those tough losses become a little more understanding.
Well, and I agree with Ben Howland. I mean, why are you playing, at Montana, at UC Davis? What do you gain by doing it? Ben Howland came out and kind of blasted that. I mean, you got to be scheduling. Be a little smarter. Those are tough venues to play.
Trent Johnson trying to knock down that NCAA door. Only 4 losses in their last 13 games, and look at the scores. 1 were in overtime. Then you got the 3-point, 4-point, 4-point loss. And really, the game at Gonzaga, they controlled the tempo of that game throughout, and then Morrison just went crazy at the end. Here's Jensen, defended by Matt Harris. Appleby on the drive, floats it up. No, Morris rebounds. Another steal, and that is yet another turnover, the 13th by the Cardinal.
And that's another fine defensive play by Jamal Williams. When you tell him to play defense, he doesn't respond. You say, just think about offense. He comes out and becomes a defensive stopper.
They calling a charging foul or the fact that he hit the baseline. Regardless, it's a timeout, and Stanford will have it when we come back down by 13 to the number 17 team in the nation. This group of Stanford and Washington players have been battling through the years, even in their high school days, as we flash back to a great game between Clovis West and Dominguez High School in 2001, 2 of the top teams in the state of California. Chris Hernandez out of Clovis West to see in the drive, and there's Bobby Jones throwing it down. But the Dominguez team also had Tyson Chandler, now in the NBA. Surprisingly, though, Clovis West, because of some brilliant outside shooting, would pull the upset and beat Dominguez on plays like this on Hernandez.
Yeah, and the guy that passed the ball to Chris Hernandez that time was Tyrone Jackson of Arizona State, so that was a pretty talented backcourt for Clovis West.
Now Hernandez on the floor. Bobby Jones is on the sideline, and here is Appleby getting it low to Williams. He has it blocked by Crowett. 13-point Husky lead with 11 minutes and 10 seconds to play. Stanford's got to make a run sometime if they're going to come back in this game.
Little weave action, little dribble handoff, trying to create some openings for Stanford, which they did. Mitch Johnson just couldn't knock down the shot.
And the Cardinals just shooting 37% in this game.
And Washington, a great job tag teaming Chris Hernandez defensively. It started out with Brandon Roy. It's been Bobby Jones. Now it's Joel Smith, who's about 6'6", 6'7", with similar skills defensively as the other two.
I think Jensen may have pushed off and we're going Stanford's way. But the outside official made the call. And I think that's what the Husky fans are shouting about. Brandon Roy comes back in. Well, another complete game, 11 points, 4 rebounds, 6 assists, and he does just about everything. I mean, he is a leader in every category on the Pac-10 chart: scoring, rebounding, assists, blocks, field goal percentage. There's Hernandez. Nope.
He's in the top 10 in 8 of the major stat categories, and the other one rebounding, he ranks 12th. Nice bit of sportsmanship by Matt Harris, the hard foul, but then helping up Brandon Roy.
So Brandon Roy will go to the foul line.
And if Stanford could just generate something at the offensive end, it's going to be tough again with no Dan Grenfell, that third score coming off of a 31-point game, career high against Arizona State a couple of games ago. He's down with the flu, so it's really questionable how much more time he'll see in this game.
Trent Johnson had great success at Nevada for 5 years, led the Wolfpack to the Sweet 16. Brandon Roy dropping the foul shot. It is a 53-38 Washington lead.
Tough Nevada team. Coach Schneider, Nick Vazikas, an outstanding senior at Nevada now, is just a freshman doing the room. And now a box set again. Here's the screens I was talking about with Hernandez. But just well played. There's the open shot there, passed on by Mitch Johnson.
And Anthony Goods hits the three-pointer, and that's the first three-pointer of this game. Anthony Goods, they love his future, doesn't play very much because of their depth of the guard position. But he's a kid they think has a great future out of Corona Centennial High School.
And Trent Johnson just doing anything he can now to generate some offense, and that was off the penetration from Hernandez. Kicks to Mitch Johnson. He does a great job putting him on the floor, and that kind of opened things up. I mean, draw and kick basketball will be the key for Stanford.
Preston Dentman makes the foul shot to reduce the lead back to 13, and Tim Morris comes back in for Mitch Johnson, and that will move Chris Hernandez to the point and Goods to the off guard.
Let's see if Stanford continues to try and spread it out. Dribble, drive it, draw the defender, then look to kick it. And Good showed a nice form on that shot. Hernandez can knock down the shot. And Matt Harris can even step out to about 15, 17 feet.
Third foul on John Brockman, and that will send Martin Harris down to the other end of the floor as Washington has sent Stanford to the line in the bonus opportunity, so it'll be 1 plus the penalty for Harris, who missed his last 2 foul shots.
And we talk about the outstanding job that Mike Jensen has done offensively, 6 for 8 from the three-point line, but his defense against this guy right here, Matt Harris, has just been outstanding. I mean, he's done a great. He told me before the game he's going to try and limit his touches, and he's worked extremely hard to front him down in the post, to deny him up near the free throw line where Harris can do just as much damage.
They held him to only 7 points. He makes both foul shots, give him 8 for the game, and
just 5 field goal attempts. He's just 2 for 5. So as you say, they just limit the shooting opportunities.
Bobby Jones back on the floor with Dentman, Brockman, Jensen, and Roy. Anthony Goods with the defense on Roy, and Roy was shoved, and it will be a personal foul against Anthony Goods.
The Huskies start out in kind of flare screen sets like you see Arizona use a lot of the time. Lorenzo Romo and his staff, and he was at St. Louis, actually spent some time with Lute Olson and his staff from Arizona, and kind of learn the nuances of running that offense. But it winds up as an isolation for Brandon Roy against Anthony Good, and that's not good.
Nope.
For Anthony. That's no good.
That guy's got to grow up. All of a sudden, he's got to take on a 22-year-old senior who's going to be playing in the NBA next year. And Brandon's like licking his chops over there, saying, "I had a one-on-one situation. This is kind of fun."
And the thing about Brandon, he's so patient and deliberate in those kinds of situations. So if you get caught ball watching, he will burn you with the pass.
Harry fouls Brockman after John, the freshman, stole it from him. And Stanford really getting worked here. 9:17 left and down by 13.
And once again, the defense of the Washington Huskies, and right there, it's physical inside, it's aggressive, but that's John Brockman's game.
Stanford averages just 13 turnovers per game. That was their 14th, and that has really hurt them. Both Arizona and Washington, the two teams in the Pac-10 that really need turnovers to create points.
Yeah. Still looking at John Brockman from where we are, looks like kind of from Gomer Powell, like kind of like Sergeant Carter on steroids. You know, just like big old Sergeant.
Like Shazam.
Oh, Lee Sarge. He's a big old burly boy. Hamish, Washington, about 35 miles outside of Seattle.
Lorenzo Romar said his tag comes around once every 10 years. Talent, work ethic, rugged. He's got a bunch of them coming in. I mean, he's got a whale of a recruiting class coming in next year, highlighted by Spencer Hawes, the 6'11" center from Seattle Prep. Also coming is Phil Nelson, Adrian Oliver, and Quincy Pondexter. Here is Chris Hernandez. That's his first three that he has made in this game.
A little ball screen, and the Huskies have done a nice job with their big guys hedging that screen. And he worked on actually trapping Chris Hernandez at shoot around this afternoon, but didn't do it on that possession.
Bobby Jones, offensive foul.
I'm just waiting for some Chris Hernandez highlights. You know, again, he was 7 for 11 against Arizona. They were down 12, 13 points late in that game. And all of a sudden, he just started burying three-pointer after three-pointer. And it's going to be tougher because there's no Dan Grenfell on the floor to attract some defenders his way. But I'm not counting Chris Hernandez out just quite yet.
28 points against some good defenders in Arizona last week, and Hernandez with the ball, but Roy is on him defensively.
Because that ball screen again, Brockman's got the hedge, got to trap it. Yep.
And Hernandez turns it over.
He played it differently that time. Brockman did a nice job going from a hedge into an all-out trap with Brandon Roy, playing solid, applying pressure.
Well, they had cut it at 12, but 15 turnovers has really cost them in this game. All of a sudden, you're limited on shot attempts. Washington has 5 more shot attempts than Stanford. Detman missing the three. Hernandez runs it down in the corner.
Ball screen once again for these consecutive possessions. Let's see if the Huskies trap it again. There's Brockman and there's the trap. There's a turnover.
Offensive foul is called against Hernandez.
There's a turnover. Hernandez scored the first time they ran it. The next 2 times the Huskies trapped it, they get 2 turnovers from Hernandez.
The third foul for Trent Johnson's leader, Chris Hernandez. Back-to-back turnovers by Hernandez and the Cardinal. They're down by 12 to Washington. Inside 8 minutes to go. Washington with a 12-point lead on the Stanford Cardinal this week on ACC Sunday Night Hoops. The Maryland Terrapins travel to Tobacco Road to take on the 21st ranked North Carolina Tar Heels. Our coverage begins with the Acura College Basketball Tip-Off Show at 5 Eastern, 2 Pacific, right here on FSN. Our Chevy students of the game, it starts right there with Chris Hernandez and Dan Grunfeld. Both were named to the all-district academic team. I can see him being a head coach in basketball when his playing days are over. But Dan Grunfeld, you know what I think he's going to do? I bet you he winds up being a GM like his dad in the NBA. He knows the game so well, and he knows all the players. You should talk to him about that upper league.
Yeah, he's been around it all his life.
Brandon Roy taking over inside.
Probably going to call his dad after the game tonight. And Dad, I got a guy, Brandon Roy. You need to take a look at him. He's a pretty good player. Trying Like, yeah, I know. Trust me, I know.
He could wind up being the Pac-10 Player of the Year. Harris jumps it and misses over Appleby's defense. And Appleby trying to chase it down in the corner, and it goes out of bounds. It will be Washington basketball. Well, how about UCLA? They were down by 6 at the half. They are now up by 18 over Oregon State. If they win that game, they will be tied with California for first place in the conference. But Oregon still leading USC, who shocked the Bruins last Sunday.
About Oregon and Chamberlain and Gucci the last 4 games, averaging close to 20 points a game. Bryce Taylor's out with the knee, and Champa Gucci. The little Wally Pitt Lou Garrett deal.
Yep. There's Williams, and he misses a shot. Prowett gets it to Chris Hernandez inside 7 minutes to go. 14-point Washington lead. There's a roll. Every single shot has been extremely well contested. And if Washington continues to play this kind of defense for 40 minutes, there's not too many teams in the country that can beat them.
Especially with this guy right here as your leader, you know, he gets the turnover there. That's a good call. Kind of got that dribble up a little high, a little out of control, but not much else. But Brandon Roy has not done right tonight.
Washington 1 game back of UCLA and Cal with 3 games to go after tonight. They have Cal on Sunday, then they go to Arizona State and Arizona.
And talking about their defense, Steve, you know, when you got your leader and the guy that's averaging 20+ points a game, given the effort and focus and concentration Brandon Roy is given.
Bobby Jones laying it up and in. And Washington running away with a 16-point lead on the Cardinals. Teo Hernandez is a pit bull, though. I mean, I've been watching his emotion, and he has been even-keeled throughout, just trying to get his team going.
And look at the defense right there. I mean, great job by Jamal Williams. Doesn't commit the foul. Gets long, gets tall, leads to a layup.
Huskies have been playing great defense, terrific outside shooting, and they have a 62-46 lead on Stanford. Our Dodge game summary: Washington by 16 over Stanford. Look at the 3-point field goal. Stanford only 2, and the Huskies 9 for 16. Jensen with a career best, and Hernandez just 2 for 12 from the floor after hitting 28 against Arizona. Now, the most losses by a Pac-10 champion, you see the numbers. Washington and USC with 5 way back in 1985, and then a number of teams with 4. But no one in the Pac-10 has finished 12-6 in conference or better and not made the NCAA tournament. I mean, there are several teams that could do that this year, and that's something that the NCAA has to think about.
So you're thinking if Stanford can win their next 3, for example,
they'll be 12-6.
They'll be 12-6.
Because Washington just manhandling them. Never really had a rhythm. Their defense has been outstanding, and they shoot 9 of 16 from 3-point range. They'll beat just about everybody. But as far as the conference goes, for just the 4th time since the Pac-10 expanded to 10 teams in 78 and 79, and the first time since 90-91, the regular season champion will have at least 4 losses. Jamal Williams spinning. Misses, but Roy does not. He comes out of nowhere to score.
Super smoothie. Brandon Roy, nobody puts a body on him. Does a great job following the flight of the ball. Shows his body control. Change it left hand, right hand off the glass. Washington going to work on a little zone defense for a possession or 2 out of the timeout.
Roy with 19 points now, and Anthony Goods hits the 3.
A nice stroke. I mean, that's a second jump shot.
Looks a little like Chris Weems with that release.
Yeah, it does. I mean, that
Well, here again, as the postseason prospects for the Pac-10 Conference, UCLA is in, Washington is in, Arizona has a great RPI, and their final 3 games are at home.
Yeah, I mean, I like Arizona. I mean, it's just their RPI is too strong to stay out. Here's where Stanford, that 89, you lose to.
I really like Cal too.
Yeah. Cal definitely. I mean, Arizona's kind of a team everybody's well. They've struggled this and that, but a 17 RPI gets you in. I don't care what's going on.
Not that, but about Cal, a lot of teams, the NCAA say, well, we're really interested in the last 10 games of the season. Cal's won 7 of their last 8.
That's pretty good.
and Poe's a pretty good feature attraction.
Yeah, 7 to 8. Yeah, but they played well this year. They've done a great. Ben Braun has really done a nice job. Yendi Ibaka has emerged as one of the top 3 point guards in the conference, I'd say.
Goods against Appleby. Lawrence Hill in the game. He's had very limited minutes after a very good game. Goods. And Harris with the tip in. Matt Harris, who came in averaging 18 points per game, has just reached double figures. Points 9 and 10.
Matt Harris has had 10, 20-point plus games this year. They've been on a roll, had like 4 or 5 in a row, but he was injured.
Stanford right now with only one of their stars on the floor, and that's Matt Harris. Chris Hernandez on the sideline just getting a break, and Dan Grunfeld did not play but 2 minutes in the first half because of the flu-like symptoms he had that kept him out of the shoot-around today. But there's Hernandez, who gives you everything he has every second on the floor. I'll always remember the comment from Mike Montgomery when he was playing Hernandez when he was hurt. And Montgomery said, I asked him, how long do you play him in a game because of his injuries? And he said, as long as it takes to win the game.
Once the game's in the bag, you can get him out of there.
Yeah, give him a break.
But Stanford 2 and 6 when they scored below 70 points, and we knew it was going to be a struggle with no Dan Grunfeld on the floor. And Washington and Lorenzo Romar, their defense has done a great job exploiting the absence of Dan Grunfeld, who's ill, played the first half, hasn't played in the second half.
4 minutes to go. Harris, they try to get it to him down low, and another Cardinal turnover. Number 17 for Stanford. Most forced by the great defense for the Washington Huskies, and they have a 68-53 commanding lead on the Cardinal. Washington with a 68-53 lead over the Stanford Cardinal. Brandon Roy, the All-American candidate, having another all-round game. Marcus.
Right here, draws a contact from Peter Proud, finishes off the play strong, and little chicken wing on Tim Morris to improve his position, and then does a nice job attacking the offensive glass. Brandon Roy, 7 points at halftime, 21 here for the game, 14 in the second half.
Leading his team in scoring, leading his team in assists, second on the team in rebounding tonight. 8th straight 20-point game, and that's a guy who's one of the top candidates along with Leon Poe for Player of the Year in the conference. Justin Dentman being defended by Mitch Johnson. Roy, Jones, Jensen, Williams, and Dentman.
Anthony Good, again, an enviable task. I think Washington is going to milk the clock a little bit, and Lorenzo really wants to pour it on at this point, but you still want to at least look at the basket, stay aggressive.
Oh, Bobby Jones tried to catch it. His head was almost even with the rim and throw it down, but hits it off the back of the iron, and the Cardinal come up with it with 3:10 to play.
Bobby Jones shows his defensive stance and abilities against Chris Hernandez.
Hill short, but there is Anthony Goods coming out of nowhere. He's been playing pretty well off the bench, as Goods has a career best with 8 points. Lead still 13 for Washington as the Huskies trying to go 21-5 and 10-5 in the conference and stay 1 game back of California. UCLA was leading by 18 last time we checked over Oregon State.
The conference race that looks like it's going to be decided the regular season. on the last day of the season. All these teams bunched up.
Washington will be in Arizona the last game of the year. That could be for the title. UCLA is also on the road. Bruins will finish at Stanford. A wild ending for the Pac-10 this year, and a year that the league is so young. More than half of their players are freshmen, of their starters are freshmen and sophomores, and we have seen so many injuries this year to so many great players. Well, Chris Myers returns to FSN with the most intriguing and controversial names in sports talk with Chris in a series of half-hour specials. This week, Chris talks with Mavericks owner Mark Cuban. CMI, the Chris Myers interview, Sunday at 10:30 only on FSN. Well, the final from Los Angeles. Oregon has beaten USC 73-61. That may really knock out USC's chances to go to the NCAA tournament. But UCLA with a 14-point lead over Oregon State. So the Bruins likely will be 21-6. They're in the show, but wanted to move up and continue to play well.
Get back on their feet after that debacle down at the University of Southern California.
Hey, they just played harder than the Bruins.
They did. They
played really well.
They played well. Ryan Francis improved. Nick Young
and Dwayne Shackelford.
D-Shack, yeah. Njai had a double figure scoring.
Rich Johnson just picked up his 4th personal foul. UCLA down the stretch will have Oregon State and Oregon at home, and they are going to beat the Beavers tonight. And then at Cal and Stanford. California has games at Washington State in Washington. They won in Pullman tonight 43-41 as Leon Post scored 21 points, and then they are home to UCLA and USC. The Huskies are home to California on Sunday, and then at Arizona State and Arizona. If they win this game, they'll have a 5-game win streak, and Washington with their biggest lead of the night. Mike Jensen comes out on the best scoring night of his career, 18 points, including 6 of 8 3-pointers.
How sweet it is for Mike Jensen. I mean, you're going against Matt Harris, a guy who will be playing in the league next year in the NBA, and you have this kind of performance at both ends of the floor. I want to make sure to stress that. Great offense, but just terrific defense against Matt Harris.
Brandon Roy grabs yet another rebound, his 6th of the ball game. But look at the 6 of 8 for a guy who many times in his career has played that center position. He can hit it outside.
I'll tell you what, now if he continues to stay healthy and goes to somebody's training camp next year and has the confidence to knock down the shots like he was knocking down tonight, it'll be interesting. I don't know what's going to happen with him, but he's a big guy who's got deep range like a Vladimir Bogdanovic. He's just betrayed from Sonics to the Clippers.
Well, the star of Heck Edmondson Pavilion, Brandon Roy, is coming out of the game. The senior from Seattle Garfield High School, one of the leading candidates for Player of the Year in the Pac-10 Conference, takes a seat. Another terrific game with 23 points, 6 rebounds, and 7 assists.
We'll see how these Pac-10 potential Players of the Year perform down the stretch. Who steps up, ramps up their game.
Hans Gasser in the game now, and he comes away with the steal with 1:20 to play and a 20-point Washington lead. Arizona has Arizona State this weekend. Marcus and I will be there, and the Wildcats then close out the year against Washington State in Washington. Lute Olson was telling us about a month ago, hey, 5 of the last 7 we play will be at home.
Arizona State coming off that huge win against Cal. So, I mean, they're a team that feeling pretty good about themselves. Jeff Pendergrass, Kevin Kruger and company, Bryson Kruger.
Here's Goods. Ooh, missing the dunk. Hill grabs the rebound and knocks it back home.
Anthony Goods showing me a little something for the future. Stanford gets in the Lopez twins, Robin and Brooke, 7-footers.
Pac-10 College Hoops on FSN is brought to you by Dodge. You can take life as it comes, or you can grab life by the horns. Dodge. Steve Physiak, Marcus Johnson with you in Seattle, Washington. It's the Huskies by 18 over Stanford. Just 35 seconds left as the Huskies try to stay within a game of UCLA and California, both who won tonight and are in first place with records of 11-4.
Classy move by Lorenzo Romar. You got hungry scrubs on the floor who want to put some points on the board, but he didn't really want to run up the score against Trent Johnson.
Appleby lets it fly, and it misses, but here comes Stanford the other way. Final moments of this game, a terrific win for Washington as they have now won 5 straight. And they are 16-2 at home, and they stay within one game of UCLA and California, both who won tonight.
Yeah, and Brandon Roy, terrific offensive performance along with Mike Jensen. They were the offensive heroes, but the key to the Huskies' victory was the outstanding defense, perimeter on Chris Hernandez, in the paint on Matt Harrius.
Well, let's take a quick look at the Pac-10 standings as, again, the Bruins with a victory. California beats Washington State. The Bruins close out the year against Oregon and then at California and Stanford. Washington, we told you their schedule, California and then at the Arizona schools. Stanford has one more on the road and then they will finish, but they must win. They've got to sweep the next 3.
Well, but I love it, man. You know, you got but these 3 teams coming down the stretch here. I mean, I think your Pac-10 champions is one of those 3 teams. It's going to be a terrific race these last 3 games, leading into an even more terrific Pacific Light Pac-10 tournament.
Lorenzo Romar with his 2nd straight 20-win season. That's it from Seattle, where the final score is 75-57 Huskies. Make sure to tune in Sunday as Cal takes on this number 17 ranked team. Coverage begins at 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific. For Marcus Johnson, I'm Steve Physiak saying so long, everyone. Thanks for watching exclusive coverage of Pac-10 Hoops on FSN.